Welcome to Teaching Tips Part 2. My name is Tony Clark.
And my name is Meena Patel.
Due to popular demand, we've developed a second set of teaching tips to support the teaching of IELTS. This is in response to the positive feedback we received last time round. We hope that these tips are relevant to your context, class and experience. We really hope these are a springboard, so we don't intend you to take them exactly as they are now, but you can bend them and shape them and make them into something that applies to your context. We've chosen these because we think they'll help you give your students what they need to learn on their IELTS and English journey.
Excellent, thank you, Tony. So this first teaching tip is called Getting to Know You Survey. As teachers, we all have our favourite getting to know you activities, and this one is just a tweak on one of those activities. And the reason I like it, well, one of the reasons, is that it's twofold. So for students, it helps them with their speaking and writing skills, but for teachers, it's a really nice activity to use speaking as a springboard for writing. So ideally, this activity should be done at the beginning of a class or beginning of a term or a course when students need to get to know each other. So the first day of class, ask students to think about what they'd like to know about each other. And it doesn't matter if these things are different, it can be just 5 or 6 different things. So for example, if I was to join an IELTS class, the kind of things that I might like to know about my fellow students is, well, I'd like to know how old they are. I'd like to know how many languages they speak and what those languages are. I'd like to know what their hobbies are, for example. But that's just me and that's very personal. But if we're suppose we were to ask Tony, he might say things like,
I'd like to know about different things. I would like to know what people do, what's their occupation, for example. I'd also like to know about other languages, but I would think about what food do they like, what restaurants do they go to.
Okay, so you can have a variety of things, and I think the more variety there is, the more interesting the activity, because what we're going to do with this information is once the students have their list, they survey their classmates. So they go around the class finding out this information from all of their classmates, then use that data to create a bar chart or a graph. Just like a bar chart or a graph or a visual that you might see in writing task 1. Now, some of your students obviously may not know how to do this. They've never had to do it before, in which case show them, do it with them, give them an example. Okay, so once they have this visual, the next stage would be to use that, describe it in the same way as you might describe a visual for writing task 1. So you've used speaking, the students have talked about what they want to talk about, they've created a visual from the data they've collected, and they've written about it. To me, that's a lot of intensive language work just while getting to know you.
Yeah, I agree, Meena. And also, there are other things I like about this. It's very, very versatile. Now, we all teach in different contexts, different countries, and we have very different students as well. So with an activity like this, we can kind of personalize it a bit more. For example, you might have higher level learners or lower level, and depending on what class you have, you can adjust the language, which I really like. You can make it really straightforward if you've got kind of mid-level IELTS learners, and they'll still enjoy it. They should still have enough language to get something from it. It's also very flexible in the sense that you can use it for different types of writing. So Meena mentioned IELTS writing task 1. Of course, that's kind of what we're thinking of, but there are other forms of writing you could use to develop more general English as well. And I'm thinking things like peer review, peer work, correcting each other's work. Also things like information gap activities, or punctuation practice, which is another thing you can look at using this kind of task. So it's very flexible, and not only that, it's generated by the students. That's one of my favourite things. It comes from them. So when Mina asked me what I wanted to know, you're suddenly engaged with it a bit more than you would normally be.
No, I think you're completely right, and you've just made me think of another idea actually. So the students have created these graphs or bar charts, and I think that if you can and you have the inclination, I'd keep hold of these towards until the end of the course. And what I'd do then is possibly give out the charts and the diagrams randomly, asking students to describe somebody else's visual to practice their writing. And I think that's a really nice idea, to optimize the use of resources, because it's not always easy to find resources to help your students practice the skills they need. So yeah.
Yeah. And another good thing about that is they could see the progress they've hopefully made on the course as well.
Exactly, exactly. So that was our first teaching tip, the Getting to Know You survey. We hope you found it useful. We're sure that based on this that you can generate your own ideas that are interesting and relevant to your classes. If you'd like to know more about our teaching tips, there's a URL that's come up on screen now, and you can visit our website. Thank you.